Hi, this is Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio. So today I am working on the challenge, the December challenge for the Art and Soul Studio Facebook group. And if you're not a member and would like to become one, then please just send us a join request and we'll be happy to see you there. So the challenge for this month is winter solstice, or anything to do with the festivities at this time of year. And as always, you're free to interpret that in whatever way you want to. So I've decided that I'm going to make an ATC card using this black cardstock that I had. I'm cutting two pieces because later on I'll use one piece to back the actual card because it's not terribly thick cardstock. So what I'm going to do now is to put a layer of clear gesso on. I opened up that new tub, when in fact I already have this big tub on the go. I don't actually know why I bought the other one. I had thought I'd run out, but I hadn't. Still got plenty. So putting on a good layer of this, really just to it will help to thicken the card up a bit, but also will act as a good surface for the paint that I'm about to put on as the next layer. And I'm deliberately dragging that down. I want that kind of effect of it dragging down. It will dry clear, but it helps what I'm going to do next. So I've put that to the side to dry, and what I'm going to do now is to draw two circles, but I'm actually going to draw around something. It's not something that I wanted to do freehand. So two circles of different sizes. And I just used a sketching pencil for that. And now that I've got that, I also want to put a layer of clear gesso on that as well. Again, just to act as a good surface and just to help to strengthen the paper a little bit, because again, this wasn't a terribly thick piece of paper, sketching paper it was this time. So now just taking the heat tool and just giving them all a bit of a dry off. And I noticed there that the black was actually coming off the card, but you know, it wasn't a problem. So I've got three colours of these Pebeo iridescent paints that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use all three and apply them with just a bit of a dry brush. I'm just putting a little bit out. I don't want a lot of any of the colours, so just a little bit of each here. I decide this brush is a little bit too soft. I wanted a firmer brush, because as I say, I just want to kind of drag it down. And all I'm trying to do here is to create a little bit of interest in the background. And these are actually some of my favourite paints, especially for doing something like this, which is a nighttime sky. So think, if you will, kind of Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis, if I can say it. Just to give that kind of shimmering effect and the different colours. Okay, so again, we'll put that off to the side. It was largely dry because I hadn't used a lot of paint, so it wasn't thick. So I've got these two colours. They look very similar. I was hoping one would be a kind of silver and the other slightly more gold in tone. When you put them on, you don't see a great deal of difference, although, you know, close up there's a subtle difference, but they're not very different. Just giving that one a shake because it had separated a little bit. And then what I'll do is give this a quick dry, and I'll put a second coat on. Now, sometimes when I am drying things, my mind wanders, and you'll see with this that actually I ended up getting a little bit too close and actually bubbled the paint, but it didn't matter because I was only going to be using part of that circle anyway. So I'm now going to cut these out, and what I'm actually trying to do here is to create the moon and the sun. So the moon, just to reflect the fact that during the winter solstice, obviously we have more darkness than daylight, but also the sun, just to recognise that at this time of year, you know, Yule is about the rebirth of the sun. Now I want the moon to be roughly the size that it will be, or in terms of it's obviously always the same size, but in terms of what we actually see in the nighttime sky. So it won't be much bigger than a new moon. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is just to get something roughly that represents the size that it will be at the actual winter solstice. So at this point I think my sun is a little bit too big, and I start to just cut round it to make it a little bit smaller. Now I am not actually very good at cutting out, even if I do have lines. I can't cut in a straight line, I don't think, and I certainly can't cut circles, so I made the mistake here trying to do it freehand, and the sun ended up a rather strange shape. So again, I've got something a little bit smaller to draw around. It wasn't the best thing because it had a ridged edge on it, but you know, it gave me a rough outline. Trying not to worry too much about it being perfect, but equally, you know, who needs a sun with a flat top on it? So there we go. Another little bit of fiddling with it until I'm at the point where I think, yeah, that will do. And just looking roughly at where I'm going to position them. But before I do that, I actually want to decorate the moon and the sun. So I will cover both with a matte gel medium. In hindsight, I kind of wish I'd used something like glossy accents, but I don't know why, I just thought the matte gel medium would do. So for the moon, I have a jar of these little crystals, and they're really lovely. The only thing is they're not flat, so unless the gel matte medium was really thick, it was going to be really difficult to get them stuck down. So I won't show you me doing all of this, but there you can see it's on, but it's not going to stay like that. So I've now got the sun, and what I've decided to do here is to dip it into this little tub of, I don't know, these kind of little mini beads or micro beads. And every time I use these, I say that's the last time I'm going to use them, because I find them very difficult to work with. But just trying to even it up there. I know a lot of them will fall off, and it's just the way it is. Again, I'm not looking for it to be absolutely perfect. So you'll see me taking off the little crystals there. And what I decide to do is to use silver mini beads or micro beads on the moon. That's the gold opened, but here's the silver. I need to label these. and just doing it in a similar way as I did with the sun, just dipping it in and trying to catch as many as possible. Now what I should have done was to leave these to dry for a while, but you know, sometimes, especially when I'm filming, I get a bit impatient. I don't want to leave things sitting about for a while and have to go back to filming. So I know that a few is going to fall off, and that's okay. That was really one of the reasons for putting the colour underneath anyway, so that no matter what, there would be colour on both the sun and the moon. So I've now got this snowflake stamp, and I'm going to use this clear embossing ink pad just to stamp onto my card. I know roughly where I'm putting the sun and the moon, so I'm just kind of avoiding that area. And I'm going to use silver embossing powder. So I shake off the excess, and then I'll put that back into the little pot. Never does all go back, but yeah, just one of those things. So now I will activate it with my heat tool. I do enjoy seeing it change. It really just, yeah, it's like magic. So now it's back to the sun and the moon, and I'm going to put some gel matte medium onto the card, and then I'll stick the moon in place and then the sun in place. And you'll see all the time there's little beads falling off. So on with a good layer of the gel matte medium. That will of course dry clear. And you know, I wasn't too concerned about the little bits falling off and sticking to the card, because I just decided those would be like stars anyway. Brushing a few, I was just trying to separate them there so that they weren't all clumped together. And decide that that's okay. So now just taking another piece of the black cardstock, just a small piece. And on this I'm just simply going to write Winter Solstice. So I just use a white Jelly Roll pen. And I go over that once more just off camera. And again, just sticking that down with some gel matte medium. So now we want to take the two colours that I'd used as the kind of base colour for the moon and the sun, and I just want to add bits here and there on the card. and I'll then go round the moon with one colour and round the sun with the other, just to really create that effect of kind of moonshine and the kind of halo that you get around the sun. What I like about these paints is that you can still see the original colours underneath, but it just adds a little something. So I now take the white Jelly Roll pen again and just do a few dots here and there, again just to represent the stars. So at this point I'm feeling that it's almost finished, but it's just kind of lacking something. So I get out some silver paint, just a small tube of silver paint, and decide to create just a kind of border around the edges of the card, just an uneven border. Just using my finger and just wiping it against the card so I can create that uneven effect. So I just work my way around the whole card. And there it is. I then decide that actually I still want to use some of those crystals, so I get some glossy accents this time. And just take, I think I only put in place about 3 of them. I could have put more on, but I didn't want to overdo it. So the nice thing about them is they are clear, but you know, in a certain light you can just kind of see them as the card moves a bit. So just put the 3 of those into place. And at that I call it a day. So I do hope you've enjoyed this. If you'd like to join in and would like to share your artwork with us in the Art and Soul studio, you would be very welcome. So thanks very much for watching. Bye for now.